Welcome to our video on the new depth of field module in selective drawing. You can find selective drawing on the right hand side in the finalize section under local adjustments down here. To make it easier to find, we can use the new toolbar up here to turn off all the interface areas and just turn on the modules we want. Let's select the magnifying glass and selective drawing. With our image loaded, let's go to selective drawing, and up here we have the 3D module in the top right corner. Here in this 3D module, we can create a depth map. To perform 3D operations on a photo, we always need the depth information, and we need the program to know it too somehow. Let's activate the depth map. The image gets a bit darker, don't worry, that's because the mask display is switched on, but there's no mask there yet. Let's set black and white, or grayscale, for the depth map. Then I'll use the brush, turn off contour detection as we don't need it right now, to tell the program by drawing in the woman at the front here that this is the foreground. Wherever I make it brighter, the depth map gets lighter, means that it's further to the front. We have to do a bit more with the hair here, but we don't have to be very precise. It really works when we go over it roughly here a bit. I painted over the edge here, so maybe we use the eraser to go along that again. Once we've roughly painted on the depth map, we can use the blur function here to soften this depth map a little. And that level of accuracy is already enough to add the depth of field in the image. Let's turn off the mask or the depth map. Go to the depth of field module here. Here we can now adjust the softness straight away. We see that everything we didn't paint becomes blurred, and the foreground remains in focus. So I can just draw in the foreground here really roughly and then set a depth of field behind that. The quality can be adjusted down here. There are 3 modes. I could also move the depth of field forward. You can move the depth of field through the image to wherever you want it. And this focus control area down here, I can control the level of blur for the transition from soft to sharp. If I set it to soft, you can see the transition becomes more blurred. The blurred area gets larger. If I set it to sharp, the blurred area gets smaller. If I'm not sure what depth of field I want where, for instance, where I want the background to be, I can use the pipette tool here to say, please set the depth from the image here. And that is then set for me automatically. So you can see adding depth of field with this module is really, really simple. I've prepared a second image to show another way to create the same depth map. Let's load the image using the history viewer here. We don't want to save the project right now. Let's switch back to selective drawing. And here we see a function next to the masks in the bottom right corner where we can load a mask. And in this case, when we're in the 3D module, a depth map. That's an image, usually in grayscale. Let's load up this image now, and that's then applied as a depth map and converted accordingly. Let's set that to black and white here too, my preferred view, but the color doesn't matter. And you can see this is the depth map I generated, and I can now just load that here. Let's turn off the mask, go to the 3D module. We can also add some blurring at the back here, or set the depth to this tree, for instance, so the blurring is strongest there. Maybe we'll make the focus area slightly smaller, so the tree at the front here is slightly sharper. Or maybe something completely different. Move the blur to the front and make the blurry area slightly wider just before it reaches the tree. So it's blurry at the front and sharp at the back. So we're free to modify and change it in whatever way we wish. So I hope you feel like you know a bit more about this module now. Have fun trying it out.